The former country of Yugoslavia suffered a devastating economic collapse due to hyperinflation, their split from the Soviet Union in 1948, and the events of World War II. Between 1954 and 1987, their debt and inflation numbers increased to the point where the entire country suffered a massive collapse. Combined with the steadily rising unemployment rates, this left Yugoslavia in desperate need of help. In 1987, their debt was $21 billion. 1.3 million people were without jobs, and over half of their income from annual exports was going into helping clear their debt. But in 1997, Final Fantasy VII was released. Japan, in a show of support, airdropped 10 million copies of the game into Yugoslavia, but the country had dissolved in 1992, so this was completely fucking pointless. Nevertheless, some 10 million copies of the original Japanese release lie somewhere out there in the European wilderness, just waiting to be claimed. That totally accurate history lesson turned into a goddamn video about buried video game treasure. Well, whatever. This time we're going to be diving back into Final Fantasy VII Remake. This time there'll be no fucking around. No history of the game's pre-production or materia tutorials or anything like that. That Yugoslavia thing though, that was important. But everything else is off the table. This chapter opens with a cool tribute to the Prisoner of Azkaban, which borders more on copyright infringement than homage. Some crazy ass shit is going on outside, but I'm just going to ignore it. As luck would have it, Jesse has been injured, and that mission they were going to go on tonight, well now they're missing a member. So Cloud ends up tagging along anyways. Now those ghost motherfuckers, I'll circle back and talk about them later. They're fully explained towards the end of the game, so I feel it'd be best to just save that conversation for then. All I'm going to add right now is that these slippery bastards are a narrative headache. Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett board a train and manage to chill out for about 5 minutes before they're fucking attacked by Amazon delivery drones. There's some interesting juxtaposition between Avalanche and Shinra here, which I don't want to just gloss over.
Their bomb threat has thrown our offices into chaos, let alone the reactor itself. It's total insanity! But we won't lose heart. No! Everyone at Shinra agrees. The reactor will stay online.
Is that right?
What? You got a problem with that?
Do I have a problem with that? Oh, you can bet.
He doesn't.
Asshole.
You know you're better than that.
This is the sort of thing I really like in this game. Honestly, all the side quests and frustrating sewer levels and literal actual child ghosts take a back seat to the lore and characters and philosophy for me. Without all these extra elements holding this game together, like the duct tape which once held my PC together, all we'd be left with is a boring, lifeless husk. That husk being Kingdom Hearts 3, of course. Tifa and Cloud are split up from Barrett after he attempts to escape from this shitty game. The others follow because Cloud will do anything for the bit, and Tifa's head is just straight up empty. Before reuniting with Barrett, the duo encounter some more Shinra drones. This whole area is pretty dull looking, especially since it's basically identical to the tunnel from the biking segment like 2 chapters earlier. Eventually they stumble onto Barrett and some Shinra guards putting the herd on each other.
You think he wants me to put the hurt on him?
Yes, I do!
Once the fighting is done, Barrett explains the plan briefly before they all move on. What this unfortunately means is that we'll be spending some more time in the subway tunnels. God, this place is one step too close to being a goddamn sewer level. We should have left those abominations back in the fucking NES era, but no, every RPG between 1990 and 2015 needed a fucking sewer level. I need to take my meds. Following this cool Berlin Wall-inspired Banksy art, the trio find themselves inside a scorpion's nest. These dumb fucks just watched Aliens and thought they could tackle this the stupid way. They're fucking bugs, just get some Febreze. We're all introduced to Heidegger here. He's a Shinra executive and the head of public safety. In other words, he's Colonel Shikishima, but more Nazi. He slaps around his subordinates and grins mischievously, and he's pretty cool. Why did I write that? After making their way through the lower levels of the Sector 4 plate, they come across this place. I don't really know what to call it, so I'll let the game describe it.
This here is Section F.
We cut through Section G and head for H.
A cargo platform in H will get us closer to the reactor. Biggs should be somewhere over there. Looks like the sun's going down on Midgar.
This section is fun, not only because of the level design and exploration aspect, but also because of the implications the characters' actions have here. Turning off these sunlights shuts off power to a whole part of the sector below. Barrett's reasoning is fine enough. They're going to lose all their electricity when Avalanche blows up the reactor anyways, so it's alright. But it feels as if you're committing a sin to achieve a positive outcome. Like, there's something slightly scummy about what you're doing. It's easy to get lost here, but you'll never be lost for too long. There's numbers plastered on walls and beams everywhere, letting you know exactly where you are. Also, the game has a mini-map and a compass, but I tend to have it turned off. Purely for the sake of speed, I had both on. It's not because I got lost, shut up. There's some light puzzle shit, and then you'll make it to the Marco reactor. Almost as soon as you enter, you already know how this mission's gonna end.
They sick this big boy on us, we'd be screwed 6 ways from Sunday.
Mechanized units like these were designed to take out giant monsters. Probably a new prototype. If they do decide to deploy it, then our best bet would be to run like hell.
Oof. Then let's hope he sleeps through the explosion.
But things escalate when Japanese Wolverine over here interrupts you after having placed the explosive. It's fucking dumb to think things could be achieved with such simplicity. Of course there's a twist. Shinra have used the media to warp the situation.
Huh? What is this?
Breaking news from Mako Reactor 5. Shinra has confirmed the reactor to be the target of the bomb threat issued by the terrorist group Avalanche. Members of the group were observed entering the facility, and security is currently sweeping it for explosive devices. We now go live to the scene.
I'm here in the Sector 5 Undercity. Having confirmed the terrorist target, the Shinra Emergency Operations Center has issued an evacuation advisory. Residents are outraged that the tragedy of Mako Reactor 1 was only the first attack in a campaign of violence.
President Shinra has issued a statement providing assurances that the terrorists will soon be brought to justice.
And so, to a people beset by chaos and uncertainty, we will offer the finest comfort, bread and circus.
The big boy.
I give you Shinra's latest triumph of technology. The Airbuster, your executioner.
What makes this chapter and incoming boss fight really interesting is that you, the player, can select advantages and disadvantages for the upcoming fight.
It looks like a few of its components are still in transit.
We'll see about that.
Could tamper a little with its loadout.
And give ourselves an edge?
There should be a console somewhere.
There are only a select number of keycards, not enough to completely neuter the boss, so you're forced to make a few decisions. There are 3 components you'll be able to discard during this section. I'm just going to straight up steal what was written on the wiki to explain this. I am very lazy. Removing AI programming cores makes Airbuster shoot lightning beams from its hands less often, and the party gets stunned less by its electrical attacks. Removing the big bomber shells will reduce Airbuster's damage output and ammunition, and it uses its big bomber less often. Removing M units has no effect on the boss's behaviour, but nets the player some items instead. The extracted material can be claimed by gaining access to the disposal room right before you begin the boss fight. I never found much use for any of these items except for the big bomber ammunition. They essentially act as grenades, but have a larger area of effect and do way more damage. I found myself primarily using them against bosses and waves of stronger enemies towards the end of the game. Now onto the Airbuster boss fight, which is, in my opinion, the best machine boss fight in the entire game. When it first begins, there's a sinking kind of feeling that this fight will be like a shitty God of War boss, a dumb big enemy that leans over the side of the arena and slams you with extremely telegraphed, boring attacks. Instead, it plays out more like that InGen fight from Crash 2, or a better example would actually be the Luis fight from Nier. Instead of it just being another generic action game boss, it's way more interactive. It has a slew of attacks from close range to far away. You'll mostly be dealing with it using magic, but you're able to get in some hits using your sword or your limit breaker when the Airbuster slides across the arena. Barrett becomes extremely useful here as he's the only character, right now, that can damage things from afar. If you're not confident about beating the boss, make sure you have lightning materia and a lot of ether. The boss is weak to lightning, so equipping that materia to either Cloud or Tifa is beneficial. The boss isn't difficult. It's slightly challenging on your first run, but it ends up being an enjoyable fight. The way it's built up all throughout the chapter as some epic monster killing machine is great. When you defeat it, it makes you feel like a god. Unfortunately, right after the boss fight though, Cloud dies.
You guys are not going to believe this.
Cloud
Has cancer. Do you want to win all the gift cards down below?
This next section will either leave you feeling satisfied or annoyed. It depends on if you're fine with trailing missions and awkward platforming. Cloud just so happens to meet Aerith again. He smashed through the roof of the church where she grows the signature yellow flowers. Shortly after landing there, a Turk shows up. There's a pretty enjoyable fight against Reno, which involves some minor strategy and timing attacks and defense. He utilizes these electromagnetic mines to distract you whilst fighting. They hover about the arena and shoot beams of electricity between them, allowing Reno to circle around and attack you whilst you're preoccupied. Fortunately, they're not too tough and can be taken down in just a few swings. They don't deal a lot of damage either, but can stun lock you, which obviously isn't good. Reno is a quick opponent who will use cheap tactics such as these mines in order to win. As long as you keep on your toes and figure out when to block, he isn't that hard. Make sure not to fight near the flower bed though, otherwise Aerith will reprimand you. You wouldn't want your hot virtual video game GF to hate you now. With a clean fireball to the face, the fight is over. Before Cloud can kill Reno, these bloody plot convenience motherfuckers show up and force push Cloud and Aerith out of the room like they're fucking Leia floating through space or something. It looks goofy and I hate it. The next section is an escape sequence, very reminiscent of the original game. The major difference here though is those ghost bastards are surrounding the arena and blocking off certain paths. The general layout of this room is essentially the same though. You can muck around as much as you want and the Shinra guards won't break down the door until you pass this precarious walkway, activating a scripted cutscene. This dipshit nearly straight up slaughters Aerith, but hold on. I'm gonna let you guess what happens. Is it A, Aerith falls and breaks her neck, B, Aerith is captured by the Shinra guards, C, Cloud catches her before she falls, or D, the ghosts save— It's D, alright? The fucking ghosts save her. Fuck. Well, they actually make a wall which prevents the guards from getting to her. Now I've described these things as narrative headaches and plot conveniences and so on, so what do I mean by that really? I'll go into more detail when they're explained in the game later on, but for now I just want to clear the air a little bit. Think of them as messengers of fate, like how fate exists in the world of JoJo, except it's more spiritual and interesting there. Here it just looks weird and needlessly muddles the story. I strongly think that if these fate ghosts were entirely removed from the game, then the remake would be better in almost every way. I'm not opposed to the idea of fate seemingly guiding our characters along a certain path. Like I said earlier, JoJo has done this exact concept, but executed it far better in my opinion. The part that best utilizes the idea of fate is definitely Stone Ocean. This panel even became a meme because of it. I won't spoil Stone Ocean because it's 100% one of the best parts in JoJo, but I'm using it as an example because I think it's executed better there than it is here. After some awkward platforming due to confusing controls, Cloud and Aerith eventually escape the church. What follows is a lengthy stretch of climbing and jumping where you won't be doing much but pressing forward on the analog stick. This would be boring, if not for the writing. Aerith and Cloud are constantly talking throughout this sequence, and while this could be annoying to some, I found it to be entertaining and helpful in fleshing out both characters. Last of Us and God of War do something similar, although I'd argue that Last of Us does it the best out of these three games and God of War does it the worst. What I mean by that is the characters on screen aren't doing anything particularly interesting. They're just walking around or climbing up a cliff face or jumping from one building to another, but the constant back and forth between the characters keeps it interesting. I'd also argue that visuals and music help to strengthen moments like this, which is why I said The Last of Us does it the best, and God of War does it the worst. And Final Fantasy VII Remake is somewhere between those two games. This section is gorgeous in a bleak kind of way. The area surrounding the church is all abandoned huts made from scrap and random construction material and rubble, but with the setting sun as a backdrop and all the light, playful dialogue, this area isn't as grim as it appears to be. Co-director Naoki Hamaguchi considers this scene to be his favourite reference to the original game, and it's not hard to see why. Not only does it pay homage to the original, but it builds off of it with the beautiful visuals and interesting dialogue. I'll quickly play some of my favourite bits from this sequence without interruption.
So, what's next for you?
A little bit of bodyguard work.
Right.
After that, it's back to the Sector 7 slums.
You know how to get there?
Yep.
Of course you do. Hey, don't Turks keep an eye out for potential soldiers and stuff?
They do more than just scout for candidates. Turks get called in to handle all kinds of situations, with extreme prejudice.
Professional bad guys. Gotta love them.
Back to my question. So what's he to you? Looked like you knew each other.
Maybe he thought I could be the greatest soldier yet.
Forget it.
You mad? Wait! Give me a moment. Don't just run off on your own.
Those the words of a soldier candidate?
So petty.
So, does no one live in these buildings?
Nope. No one to get mad if we make noise. Looks kinda rusty.
I'll go first. It's pretty old. Be careful.
Okay.
Easy now.
You worry too much. I'm not some princess who needs to be coddled. Shit. Whew. That was unexpected. Thank you, Cloud. Ah, there it is. The wall. You know, I thought about leaving once, but in the end, I couldn't.
Too dangerous?
Too much. A whole world bursting with life. Maybe more than I can handle, I think sometimes. Even now. People hate the steel sky, the slums, but I don't. How could I? All that passion, all those dreams, flowing and blending together into something greater. This time I'll go first. After all, I can't count on you to wait.
Sure about this?
See for yourself. Maybe I'll go on ahead and leave you all by your lonesome. Just,
Maybe you shouldn't talk.
Then you talk. Tell me a story.
Not for free.
Cheapskate. You're... Gotcha.
You're killing me here. You good?
Of course. My hero.
Never a dull moment with you.
That a compliment?
Not really.
Thanks anyway.
Aerith officially joins the party before some monsters appear, blocking the way to the station. She's an interesting party member, and although I never really enjoyed playing as her, I liked having her with me for support. All of Aerith's attacks rely on magic, even her regular attacks. There's nothing wrong with this, as she does decent damage, and a lot of the unlocks in her materia tree are great, but she has low health and vitality. Plus her movement speed is the lowest of the 4 main characters. Yes, that includes Barret. So yeah, I didn't enjoy playing as her. Skill issue and whatnot. But she's a good addition to the party. The music that plays here is actually really fucking good for a change. I haven't really touched on it too much yet, but the music in the remake is kind of disappointing. Nobuo Uematsu did return, but the rest of the soundtrack is made up of rearranged and remixed versions of the original score. A lot of the new music sounds worse when compared to the original, like there's no flair or heart to it. Something like Sephiroth's theme, One-Winged Angel, which is supposed to be menacing, just sounds weak and understated. This really is a shame, because if Square Enix had taken the same approach to music as they did with Dragon Quest XI, then I think the soundtrack could have turned out great. The Tokyo Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra conducted the music in the most recent Dragon Quest, and it sounds fucking amazing. It's bombastic, lively, and catchy, but can be intense or ominous when it needs to be. This probably wouldn't be a good fit for Final Fantasy VII, tonally, as these two games have very different themes and settings. What I'm trying to say is that these rearranged tracks just aren't it? And a lot of the remix tracks you can collect throughout the game just sound lame and uninspired too. It's a real shame because a lot of the music in Advent Children is excellent, and the arrangements from the remake when compared to that film's soundtrack, well, just sounds so much weaker in comparison. The one exception to that rule is the track playing right now. I don't mind it. I don't know if I like it more or less than the original track, but it isn't bad. This is a weird comparison, but it very much reminded me of the game Daxter for the PSP. I absolutely adore the music in that game. It's really unlike anything I've ever heard. This comes as close to sounding like the Daxter soundtrack than anything else. Just to prove my point, here, have a listen. Now, I'm not saying that one game ripped off another. I'm just saying that I'm maybe a little more biased towards this track because it reminds me of a much better game from my childhood. And yes, that is me saying that Daxter is better than Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That ain't no bug!
As they're making their way through the station, a helicopter lands on a pad.
Behind D.
That was a setup for a really bad joke. There's some light puzzles here, split up by the occasional weak enemy, and some more banter between Aerith and Cloud.
There, check it out. The heart of the slums.
Still a fair ways off.
Well, we did take a detour. Getting tired?
Nah.
Me, I'm feeling a bit hungry. How about you?
Amazed.
You're in for a treat when we make it back.
Don't have time for that.
You'll want to make time for my mom's cooking. And that's the final word on it. We'll get home quick and eat ourselves stupid.
This section isn't very long and I'm thankful for that. It's not boring, but I just want this chapter to be over already, or for something interesting to happen at the very least. This really intense, super hard puzzle is the last obstacle of this part though. It's now time for the Sector 5 slums. We're introduced to this area by a crowd surrounding a screen displaying a news broadcast. The director of Shinra's weapons division, Scarlet, is chased down by an annoying reporter.
Bombers! That's the director of Shinra's advanced weaponry division, isn't it? Excuse me, ma'am, but would you mind answering a few questions?
But we're safe down here, right?
Can you give us any updates on the status of the reactor? No reason for them what kind of damage did it suffer in the explosion?
So, when are the trains gonna start up again?
Mako Reactor 5 has been temporarily shut down, and all fires have been successfully extinguished. The situation is under control, and the people of our fair city need not worry about any additional complications. We're in the process of conducting a full forensic investigation, but we suspect the device used was similar to that employed in the attack on Mako Reactor 1. The perpetrators of that atrocity were filmed making their escape. These agents of the eco-terrorist group Avalanche are currently believed to be in hiding somewhere in Midgar.
And given that this group has now attacked 2 reactors in quick succession, can they really be stopped before they strike again?
What do you think? Have no fear. Shinra will keep Midgar safe.
And then this happens.
This does not even deserve a captain's log introduction, because this is dead serious. The inside and outside tour I did a few months ago of my house, everyone here, my mother and my father are angry at me. They're blaming at me. It's my fault. I admit it's my fault. I want everything about my house off the internet. I'll send in detectives. I'll send in police. I'll send in everything in my power to get it off the internet.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Shut that goddamn thing off. I don't care what you do. You get all that stuff off of there tonight.
I'm working on it.
Go work on it.
I am
Do
working.
you realize something? Let me tell you. If the health department of Greene County sees those videos that you put on the damn internet, they could condemn our house and we would have to move out of it.
I see.
You go get that goddamn stuff off of there and fast.
I'm working on it. I was making a YouTube video for you to tell everybody to get the images off of the internet. It's out of my control.
Oh, you get them off.
It's out of my control. I don't know where to go. I don't
You loaded them up there, you unload them.
I'm working on it.
Go do it.
I am doing it. I'm sorry.
Get in here and do it. I'll be up all night with you if I have to. You won't get any sleep till that stuff's on.
I'm working on it.
Get in there and start.
I'm working on it. Let me do these stupid videos. I can tell everybody at my command to get everything, help me get everything.
The Sector 5 slums are absolutely teeming with life and energy. This area is so highly detailed and lived in, especially compared to Sector 7. And yes, Sector 7 has a larger explorable map, I think, but this densely packed populated area is so rich with character, it makes the quests here slightly more bearable. I'll speak more on the quests in a little bit. We quickly get acquainted with Grelod the Busty and her house of miserable infants before finally reaching Aerith's home. I've skipped over a lot here, but there's just truly too much to cover. If I included every little detail, then this video would be as long as the average Joseph Anderson video, and nobody wants that. Not because that's a bad channel, no, quite the opposite, because my script and narration suck. What sucks even more though is this radical flower fucking picking mission. What? It doesn't take too long, but it's horribly uninteresting, and there's nothing to talk about here that we haven't discussed already, i.e. the yellow flowers and whatnot. At the orphanage we learn that a man in black robes scared a couple of kids away. Cloud and Aerith enter an adult-free hideout in search of them, and learn that they're in an abandoned area of the slums and are under attack. Saving these parentless dipshits unlocks the Chapter 8 side content. I skipped over talking about all the odd jobs in the first video, largely because they feel like tedious busy work. But I've committed to taking on every single side quest in the game, so I might as well go over all of them so far. There's this pretentious twink named Chadley, who you can find hanging around in the Sector 7 slums. Not only is he a rare materia merchant, but he also gives you the quest Chadley's Report. He wants the player to collect combat data by scanning 2 different enemies mid-battle using assess materia. The quickest and easiest way to complete this quest is to assess enemies whilst following the other quest lines in the chapter, those being Nuisance in the Factory and Rat Problem. Upon completion of Chadley's Report, the auto-heal materia will become available in his shop. After this, the player is able to access Battle Intel missions, which are a series of specific objectives which net the player some rare materia. I won't be covering these Intel objectives because they're all pretty much the same with only minor differences. Also, they're really boring. Chadley doesn't show up again until Chapter 8, so for now we can go over the rest of the quests available to us in Chapter 3. Nuisance in the Factory can be a challenging quest at the beginning of the game. It's perfect for getting the player used to strategizing on the fly and figuring out enemy weaknesses. A scrap dealer asks Cloud and Tifa to take out some lesser drakes in an abandoned factory. These drakes are interesting enemies. In these clips I'm just brute forcing the fights by smashing through them, but their inclusion here is the game's way of prodding the player into utilizing specific strategies in order to defeat them. The way you're supposed to fight them is to use magic and aerial attacks to stun them to the ground and then wail on them. Rat Problem is similar to the last in that it requires Cloud and Tifa to take out some troublesome enemies. A bunch of rats start preying on this dude's stock and stalking him every night, so he hires Cloud to brutalize them.
Fucking bitch.
Now for the worst quest in this section of the game, the one where Cloud collects some fucking stray cats. I mentioned this in the first video and I'm honestly still pissed. Just grit your teeth and commit to the tedium of running all over the slums talking to cats until this little snot-nosed shit is satisfied. With lost friends out of the way, there are just 2 quests left to complete in Chapter 3. The completion of Nuisance in the Factory and Rat Problem unlocks 2 new quests, On the Prowl and Just Flew In from the Graveyard. This totally unimportant guy named Weimer tasks Cloud with defeating a Shinra Hound. This isn't at all challenging as the player has already encountered full groups of these beforehand. The player should also have ice materia by this point too, which is the dog's weakness. This hound is slightly different to the normal enemies in that it has a headbutt attack, but just dodge or block it and you'll be fine. The dog will flee once a certain amount of its health is chipped away, which requires them to give chase. It's pretty easy. As for the other quest, it's kind of just boring. There's another Drake that needs to be taken care of. Find a security card to enter the battle area and defeat it the same way you did the others. Now for the Chapter 8 side content. These quests have some bearing on the hidden affection meter, which I have chosen to boycott because it's annoying weeaboo trash. I'm just sick of lame-ass dating mechanics being shoehorned into every modern JRPG. And yeah, I am well aware that it's present in the original too, and it's arguably cringier there. The only reason the gold saucer date isn't in this game is because it happens later in the story, and this first remake only covers like a third of the total story. If you happen to care about what dress this dunce is gonna wear like 3 chapters from now, then I don't know, touch grass. The Mysterious Moogle Merchant is an extremely easy side quest with a lackluster reward. It requires the player to talk to this freak cosplaying a Moogle and to purchase a membership card from him. This opens up a special shop which allows the player to trade Moogle medals for specific items. All the items available in the shop are pretty useful, but the most important for us right now is the graveyard key. The quest Kids on Patrol is yet another fetch quest, but it's less frustrating than the cat collection. 5 children have not returned from their patrols, so Cloud and Aerith have to search for them. The kids aren't hard to find, and we get some interesting insight into the daily lives of the people in the Sector 5 slums. I find this area far more interesting than Sector 7. From the orphanage to the underdeveloped land and the scrapyard, everything here feels more rundown and interesting. After finding all 5 children, they'll tell Cloud about an enemy residing in the Toad Marsh, around the area where the player had saved the kids during the Danger in the Hideout sequence. The boss here summons smaller enemies to aid it, which is usually an annoying video game trope, but I'll let it slide. The boss buffs up the smaller hedgehog enemies, requiring some more careful consideration of the battlefield and materia. Wiping out the fodder and then attacking the boss with ice materia is the way to go here. Upon completion of this quest, Cloud receives a new weapon and the odd job, a verified hero, is unlocked. This quest is less of an actual quest and more of a mini-game. Completing it once will complete the job, but increasing your score can net Moogle medals and some decent rewards. As you can see on screen, the goal is to break as many boxes in the allotted time. It's rather simple and way less interesting than something like the shooting gallery from Resident Evil 4 or the dream sequences from Daxter. The Weapons on a Rampage quest takes place in the scrapyard, which the player traversed earlier. There was a locked door there, but with the graveyard key, this area now becomes available. It leads to an area where Cloud and Aerith must fight some Shinra machines. It's a rather bland monster hunting quest, which is made slightly annoying by the fact that the player will be required to defeat enemies in 2 separate locations just to complete the quest. But completing this job unlocks one that I don't mind, that job being paying respects. An old man by the weapons store asks the pair to clear out some monsters in the graveyard area from earlier. Enemies that can inflict poison are here, so some care should be taken when engaging them. Other than that, they're not really that difficult. I don't hate this quest, mostly because it just requires the player to fight an average enemy in one place. The only downside here is that the player is traversing the exact same ground as before, which can be kind of tiresome. The reward for this is the studded bracer, an accessory which usually cannot be purchased until chapter 9. Getting it a chapter early is fine, but there's no way a player will ever miss out on gaining access to this item in the future. Last but not least is the Angel of the Slums. This is the most interesting side quest of the bunch and probably one of the best in the whole game. When I say best in the game though, that doesn't mean it's objectively good, it's just good within the context of the remake. The quest begins with Cloud and Aerith talking to Damon, a reporter looking for a big scoop. He's intent on unmasking the rumoured Angel of the Slums, a Robin Hood type vigilante who has been stealing from the rich. An old woman named Marielle claims to know where the vigilante's hideout is and says that a monster guards it. Damon then asks Cloud and Aerith to go there and clear it out. Once again, this leads them through the scrapyard to a new area called Lookout Point. There they fight a Crowmogger, an enemy that can be easily defeated with lightning materia. They then collect a calling card belonging to the Angel, which they then return to Damon. The reward is 2,000 gil. The quest sounds like any other monster hunting odd job, but it sets up a few things that come into play later on in the game. It's because of these little seeds that it plants that I like this quest, or rather what this quest eventually leads to. And that's it. Every single odd job and side quest available to us up until chapter 8. They're pretty lackluster, but there's only about 30 in the entire game in total, so it's not a massive chore. Besides, the only purpose they serve is to affect the invisible affection meter, so unless you care about that, then you can avoid most of the side content the remake has to offer. A lot of the rewards aren't actually that rewarding, and outside of the Chadley stuff, it's a lot of the same copy-paste shit. According to the wiki, 93% of players completed all the odd jobs in chapter 8, which says one of two things to me. That A, the Sector 5 slums and their inhabitants are so interesting that it makes people want to actually engage with the side content present there, or B, people just really like Aerith and want to see her wearing the hottest dress. God, JRPG fans are just feral. If the player tries to return to Aerith's home via the west entrance near the orphanage, Cloud and Aerith are stopped by the house mother. She tells them that a mysterious man was lingering around her house, and with this, we're introduced to Reno's partner, Rude. Not only is Rude my favourite Turk, but he's got one of the best boss fights in the entire game, even better than Reno's. He's less aggressive than his partner and more tactical, preferring to knock out or stun Aerith in order to leave the player flustered and without backup. He also has some devastating grab attacks which can be cancelled out by switching to the other party member and attacking Rude before he can complete the action. He has sleep-inducing attacks, forcing the player to dodge instead of block in order to avoid being knocked out. His weakness is wind, which Aerith has access to automatically, but it's good to give Cloud that materia too to increase your chances. Rude has an impressive move list, which is double the length of Reno's, and relies on physical attacks more so than cheap gadgets or lightning spells. Not only do I think Rude is a harder fight, but I think he's much fairer. The arena he's fought in is massive, which makes noticing and dodging his telegraphed attacks much easier. Rude is probably more dangerous the closer he is to the player, as he can easily disorient them with leg sweeps and haymakers and running tackles. All of this makes for a challenging but satisfying boss fight, which I would say is only outdone by the second fight, which takes place in Chapter 12. That fight has Rude and Reno working simultaneously and requires a lot more strategy in order to win. After Rude is defeated, the day comes to a close. Aerith's mother passive-aggressively tells Cloud to fuck off, and so he does. Cloud fucks off. This section where he's sneaking out was in the original too, but I can't remember if Aerith's mother asked him to leave. I'm also too lazy to look it up. It can be a little frustrating trying to sneak out without getting caught by Aerith, but if you fuck up enough, the game will just limit the amount of things you can knock into, or in other words, the game enables baby mode. Chapter 9, The Town That Never Sleeps, opens with Aerith confronting Cloud as he leaves the Sector 5 slums. This chapter follows Cloud and Aerith as they make their way to Sector 7. The two take a shortcut which involves some monster battles and light puzzles. What the fuck? The puzzles are probably the only notable part about the sequence, except for the dialogue between Cloud and Aerith. The puzzles involve Cloud having to operate this large robotic construction arm in order to move Aerith to out-of-reach areas in order to progress. This is intercut with battles with lesser drakes, smoggers, terpsichore's, and one encounter with a sweeper. That's all this part really has to offer. There's some nice interaction between Cloud and Aerith here, as you'd expect, and the puzzles help to keep this section engaging. I also like the area itself and the backstory behind it. Aerith claims that the shortcut is a tunnel that leads to Sector 7, completely avoiding War Market. I'll touch on what War Market is a little later, right now it's not really relevant. Anyways, the shortcut turns out to be an expressway, which was destroyed and abandoned when one of the plates fell. I assumed the robotic arms were used to try and clear debris, whether it be to rescue injured civilians or in an attempt to rebuild the expressway. There were also other sections to the field map, like the machine graveyard and the bandit hideout. Cloud and Aerith take a break to just chat a bit before they split off from one another. We get some genuinely interesting dialogue between them, wherein Aerith makes subtle reference to Zack Fair and their time together during the events of Crisis Core.
What's his name? I probably know him.
Crash! Before we return to Sector 7, we can play around on some of the playground equipment. It's hard to maintain suspension of disbelief when this playground actually has swings and tires to jump on, and isn't just a flat, padded, totalitarian hellscape. The pair is interrupted, however, by a cart led by a chocobo. That's right, the chocobo, from the hit billion-dollar game, Chocobo Racing. Cloud notices Tifa in the cart and, with a little convincing from Aerith, decides to go after her. Now they must venture into War Market, a place completely untouched by Shinra. It's essentially a sector-sized red light district, under the control of a fat pimp, a man named Don Corneo. This dude's a massive piece of shit. He's a womanizing gangster and is clearly an allegory for the real-world Yakuza. And what's worse is that he's into femboys.
Fucking quiz!
I really like the idea of a sketchy kind of area completely free of Shinra control. It adds to the world building and helps to diversify the environments. All the locations so far have been kinda samey, but War Market is a whole different beast. It's cramped, busy, and caked in neon lights. There are tight back alleys and winding staircases. The added elevation to the map is appreciated, but not much is done with the space that these stairs lead to. There's not much to do here except continue pursuing Tifa. On the way to the mansion overlooking Wall Market, we bump into Johnny again. He spouts some schizophrenic nonsense and then claims that Cloud is the real idiot.
You're just another musclehead who uses violence to work through your inner demons. It's sad, really. Huh? Yeah, what's up?
God, I fucking hate him so much.
Tifa, my love, my light? Who are you and how do you know her? No, shut up. I don't care. Tifa's here? Why? Tell me why! Oh god, no. I did this to her, didn't I? She came looking for me to beg me not to leave her. Snap out of it, Johnny. Your Tifa needs you. Tifa, I'm coming, baby!
There's a reason there is literally zero pornographic material between this cunt and Tifa. Even professional perverts can't stand him. Cloud and Aerith are denied access to Corneo's palace. To gain entrance, they must get on the good side of one of the trio, 3 supposed connoisseurs of Corneo's personal tastes. They basically know what turns the whale on, and so recommend girls based on said fetishes. Yeah, it's fucking strange.
Stay strong, Tifa! Help is on the way!
I want to saw this guy's head off.
Not the sharpest tool in the shed, is he?
Jesus, Aerith, too soon. Now we're left to explore Wall Market. There's some interesting stuff around, but a lot of places are closed off or devoid of activities right now.
We have the perfect room for a sweet-looking couple like you.
How much?
Cloud!
That's because eventually we'll be able to return to complete some odd jobs. Our first stop is Chocobo Sam, who is this wildly out-of-place schmuck. Well, imagine if Sam Elliott and Two-Face were one person. That's Chocobo Sam. He's supposedly the one responsible for selecting Tifa as the next Miss Corneo, therefore he's unwilling to sponsor Aerith. Next, I figured I'd get Honeybee out of the way because I'm not a big fan of it. My memory turned out to be murkier than I thought because I couldn't even get access to the inn this early, so whatever, fuck. With no other options left, I visited the massage parlor.
Welcome, welcome. Just the two of you? Step right up. Now then, what manner of massage do you desire?
Say what?
Is this your first time in our establishment?
Mm-hmm.
We are a hand massage parlor. An excess of fatigue and tension can make even the simplest task a terrible strain. It is our pleasure to relieve our patrons of that tension. And what better way to seek relief than through the skilled ministrations of a professional? So now that we understand each other, what manner of massage do you desire?
We're not customers.
Then you are...
Hoping you can help us get an invite to an audition with Dawn...
For the love of... Say another word and I'll shove this fan right down your throat. This is the last thing I need. You're young and stupid, and I suppose that means you think I'll let you off easy. So, you want what? A favor? Well, here's the thing. This is a massage parlor, a respectable establishment. But if you don't require our services, then tell me! Is there any reason I shouldn't have you dragged outside and shot for wasting my valuable time? Well... Name?
Cloud Strife.
Hand.
Huh?
Give it to me!
Oh.
The strong, firm hands of a fighter, yet they possess a certain elegance and grace. Okay, Cloud. Let's see what you're made of. After that, we'll talk.
There's a really uncomfortable hand massage, which gave me Diamond is Unbreakable flashbacks. And then we're off to enter into a gladiatorial tournament. Madam M, the owner of the massage parlor, agrees to sponsor them, but only if they can win the tournament, netting her enough money to procure suitable clothing for Aerith. The first arena fight is against this dude with a pair of hounds. It's nothing the player hasn't faced off against before, it's barely even a challenge this late into the game. Next up is an 8v2 fight against some enemies from the collapsed expressway. I skipped over their fights in the bandit hideout because there was really nothing to say. This fight almost isn't even worth talking about either because it's practically the exact same. I didn't even rest between this and the first fight and I still won relatively quickly. Even the seemingly unfair increase in numbers isn't enough to make this fight challenging or engaging. The next fight is marginally better than the previous, but that isn't saying much. The last two opponents are a sweeper and a cutter. As long as you have lightning materia and know when to dodge their charging attacks, then it's easy. Again, nothing we've not seen before. Apparently these fights left Don Corneo unsatisfied too because he surprises all with a sudden fourth match. I'd like to believe those first three fights were mediocre on purpose as a way to juxtapose the new arrival, but I have a hard time believing that. I've been scouring countless interviews in prep for this video and none have really delved into the combat or gameplay. Every interview just talks about updating the story mechanics and themes to better suit the modern zeitgeist. And that's fine because for the most part a lot of this stuff has been improved. The cinematic focus and writing does help to immerse and even improve some sequences, but the stilted pacing of certain scenes and strange line deliveries just confuse me. The main cast is great. They all gel really well together and specific duos really work with how they bounce off one another. Cloud and Aerith is the most obvious example, but I quite like the back and forths between Barret and Cloud too. Tifa is kind of the odd one out, but she's not terrible. She's the weakest link in an otherwise really strong lineup. Some of this might just come down to voice direction too. I don't know enough about voice acting to really comment on it, but something tells me that that could be a possibility. Another thing that really bugs me is the way characters will move as they speak. A lot of the time a model's body language won't mesh with the spoken dialogue, and sometimes will actively ruin moments that are meant to be comedic, sweet, or intense. Often this is in an attempt to make a character react or speak in a more natural way. For instance, when a character cuts off another mid-conversation. There's always an awkward gap between the lines, and I don't know if it's because of how the cutscene is constructed or because the voice director was just busy jerking off. A lot of what spurred this was that while playing through chapters 10 to 11, I was noticing more and more things that irked me. I could just write these off as nitpicks, but there are games that achieve what this one is trying to do on much smaller budgets with smaller teams and even less production time. That's not to say that this game looks bad. It's aged very well, and I know it hasn't been that long since it was released, but that shouldn't matter in all fairness. When big budget AAA titles like Redfall and Cyberpunk 2077 can look and play this bad, even after months of patches and hotfixes, I think it's a miracle that games like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Last of Us Part 2 all look as good as they do. Here are the release dates for all those games I just mentioned, by the way. With how quickly the technological landscape is moving nowadays, it is actually unreal when a 3-year-old game still looks fucking amazing. I cannot stress enough how good the models look. There's so much detail in everything, but that makes character models like these stand out even more. Square Enix certainly had their priorities. Another point I want to quickly touch on is the style versus realism debate. Of course it's great when a game can accurately imitate real life, and games that do this can still ooze style, but the team's inherent need to update everything to fit modern standards was somehow lost in translation on them. The original game has so much style, from the oddly shaped character designs to the 2.5D environments and the soft lighting and darker color palette. Nothing looks like Final Fantasy VII, not even the few games that followed it or that released alongside it. Final Fantasy VII Remake looks really good, but it largely fails to be visually interesting, in my opinion. There are a couple of sequences or shots that still linger in my mind, but they're few and far between when compared to the original. And again, it's not impossible to have realism and stylization occupy the same space. Nier Automata is a perfect example of a game that achieves this balance. Somehow, Nier Automata is almost 10 fucking years old now, and I genuinely think it has more visual style than Final Fantasy VII Remake. Both take place in futuristic settings with apocalyptic flavorings. Both have highly detailed, large and cluttered maps. Both have amazing, sometimes hauntingly beautiful environments. Fuck, maybe I should just make a video on Nier Automata. What I mean to say is that in Square Enix's attempt to modernize Final Fantasy VII, they lost a certain flavor that really made it feel unique. It It doesn't help that their newfound obsession with being as cinematic as possible has led to them making a million film mistakes. Everything looks so flat, and the camera never really does anything that interesting. You have a giant, highly detailed 3D space to do whatever you want in, and this is how a cinematic boss fight turns out. It's so disappointing. I don't want to keep comparing this game to the original or its contemporaries, but it's really hard not to when this game does so many things I like and dislike at the same time. It's fucking mind-numbing. Wow, that was a tangent. So, back to the final fight in this poorly thought out tournament arc. Gotta love that sweet, sweet poppin'. It turns out that the final battle is against a familiar foe. The Hell House makes a return from the original game. It's a 3-phase boss battle which relies on the use of all 4 elemental materia and a lot of dodging projectiles. The pathing of these fucking chairs is often quite asinine, but despite that, I actually really enjoyed this fight. My first time through the game, I remember being rather bored at this point. I think I took my sweet ass time getting through chapter 10, so when this happened I wasn't really ready for it, but boy, I kicked this thing's ass. I'm unsure if I like this fight more or less than the Airbuster battle now. I don't know. The additional stages to the fight and the constant change of elemental weaknesses makes for an incredibly enjoyable fight. I like this added layer to the battle, and it makes it stand out, especially compared to all the previous fights we've gone through so far. Even saying that though, I wish there was just a little bit more complexity to the boss, like maybe if it had an Ornstein and Smo type thing going on, where one has one element and the other has a different element and they heal each other. Something like that could really work. While it does have multiple phases, they're all far too similar. It starts off charging at the player like Vort, and then transitions into using more elemental based attacks, usually fire. Just pay attention to the colour of its windows, and attack it using the opposite element. In its third and final phase, it will start using a defensive spell called God Mode. The player will be unable to attack it when this bubble is activated. A good strategy would be to poison the boss before it activates God Mode, thus ensuring it's still taking damage even in a defensive state. I, however, did not do this. As per usual, I just wailed on it until it died, caveman style.
I give you fire, you give me rock. Good deal.
This is one of the few times the camera and editing works to create a cinematic atmosphere, and a fucking hype one at that. One of the trio, Andrea Radea, appears to take an interest in Cloud post-battle. This is incredibly subtle foreshadowing, perhaps the most subtle thing I've ever seen. Upon returning to Madame M's parlour, Aerith leaves the party and we're given 3 new odd jobs. These aren't mandatory, although it does appear that way when you're let loose without Aerith. The first is a simple squatting minigame against this black gentleman here. You have to hit the corresponding buttons in time to Cloud's movements. At first there's a helpful display that appears to ensure the player has the timing down, but it eventually fades as you get into the rhythm of it. As long as you don't have Parkinson's, then this isn't challenging at all. It's mostly just boring. After winning, we're given the opportunity to face a harder opponent, but this is purely optional and does not contribute to the completion of the odd job. Moving on, next we have a continuation of the Angel of the Slums questline. This was one I missed when playing for the first time, and now, having finished it, I really don't think it's necessary. Some money that was being moved to the orphanage in Sector 5 has been stolen, and whoever did it is framing the Angel as the true culprit. Mariel asks that we track down the real perpetrators and get the money back. This leads Cloud back to the bandit hideout and the collapsed expressway. There we come face to face with the 3 hoodlums from earlier, who are now accompanied by this brick shithouse. This fight isn't fun at all. This cockbite will continuously charge down Cloud and stun him whilst the other thugs just circle around aimlessly. The arena feels too restrictive and the camera just doesn't know what to fucking do at times. There's also these electric orb things all over the ground, and because of the shitty fucking camera and small arena, you constantly get hit by them and are stunned. I ended up just spamming fire spells and hitting them while staggered in Punisher mode. Probably should have done that from the beginning, huh? We learn next to nothing from completing this quest. Ultimately, it just feels like a waste of time. I also wish these 3 dunderheads would just fuck off already. The game keeps trying to force this sort of intentionally stupid slapstick kind of comedy with these 3, and it just doesn't work.
Looky here, boys! Caught us some burglars!
Coming into our homes and stealing our shit? Doing crimes?
I'd say we're owed compensatory damages!
Composite, I don't get it!
How stupid can you be?
story damages. It's like, it's like compensation for damages. Oh yeah! That's what you get when you, when somebody else...
We haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah, we were just passing through.
Oh, a likely story.
Okay, what do you want?
Nothing but our due recompense, that's all. Due recompense! Due recompense!
Due recompense?
No shit for brains, due recompense. It's like,
Their line delivery, timing, and just the interactions in general are all just so bad. The writing here is especially frustrating. Characters like this can work. I mean, they're basically just the Three Stooges, but fucking horseshit. In trying to write intentionally dense characters, the writers just ended up making themselves look dense. Fucking poetry, that is. The last odd job we receive is from fucking Johnny of all people. He tells us to go save Tifa from Corneo's mansion. For some reason Cloud just goes along with it. Like, we already tried this earlier, so why are we doing this? We're waiting for Aerith to be done so that we can gain access to the mansion anyways. What the fuck is the point in trying to force our way in now? We do, however, get some pretty good dialogue from Leslie, the guy guarding the door to the mansion.
Yeah, it's for Aerith.
Who? Oh, that girl you were with. Sorry to hear that. Well, either way, you're stuck out here, pal. I can't let you in.
I wasn't asking for permission.
Huh? Wouldn't try it if I were you. Trust me, you don't want to screw with the Don. If you even think about causing any trouble, he'll make sure someone pays for it. And that someone might wind up being the girl you're trying so hard to break out. Or it could wind up being someone you've never even met before. Get it? You're in the Don's world now.
I quite like this character, and I wish there was more of him throughout the story, although I can see why there isn't. He gets more screen time later, so I'll talk about him then. Whilst fucking around, Aerith shows up with Johnny in tow. Everything about this character is just so fucking bad. I'm fine with colourful, kind of dumb, rash characters existing in games. So many modern JRPGs seem to have adopted this archetype anyways. But the difference between Junpei and Johnny is that Junpei grows as a character and is actually interesting. Yes, he's the butt of most jokes and he can do and say really frustrating shit, but that's his character. He doesn't feel badly written. Johnny, on the other hand, just feels like nothing. He's annoying comic relief which serves little to no purpose narratively or character-wise. From what I can remember though, he's barely in the game past Wall Market, thank fucking Christ. Aerith leads Cloud to the Honeybee Inn, and this is where my overall enjoyment in the game starts to seriously dip. I don't hate this area, and I can appreciate that they tried to update the Honeybee Inn to be more inclusive and less, well, you know, a fucking brothel. Instead, it is now a Moulin Rouge-inspired entertainment lounge, owned and operated by one of the trio, Andrea Rodea. Bro looks like a jarhead Prince Charming, and I don't know how to feel about that. Cloud has to perform a dance alongside Rodea in order to gain his favour. You may be asking, why would we need his favour exactly? Well, because Aerith wants to slap Cloud in a dress to get him into Corneo's palace. Cloud wearing a dress was something in the original game too, and from all of the interviews I read, the team was weirdly excited to have this in the remake. Yeah, I know, people think it's funny for the ex-soldier to wear a dress and then get sexually harassed by a creep. Wait, no, that is actually pretty funny.
But I'm a creep.
Anyways, this leads to a sequence I can only describe as mildly frustrating. If you liked fucking Atlantica, then you'll love this. This dance sequence happens to be a goddamn rhythm game. Now, Square Enix's track record with this sort of thing isn't exactly stellar.
Music, move you can do it!
I'll say that some of the notes are at least in time to the music, but what the fuck is happening with the camera? The one time they decide to fully utilize the 3D environment for a cinematic feel is during a rhythm game, where it is imperative that you are able to see the incoming notes. Why? Half of these are just fucking arse to hit. I will say, the animation and lighting and choreography is all very impressive, but what the fuck, Square Enix? Not to mention, the music is the same annoying generic fare, and it barely goes in time with the notes appearing on screen. This whole arse section just makes me wish I was playing Project Diva instead. I'm also not a fan of the way women are portrayed in the inn. I get they're trying to emulate casino attire, but the men are dressed so formally that it feels out of place morally. I want equality in my fan service. Either give all the men raging boners and pointy nipples, or put the women in burqas. Guys are fucking sexist. Other than that, I actually like how they updated the Honeybee Inn to be less skeezy and more inclusive. I think the ambiguous sexuality of Rodeo works in the game's favour too. Homosexuality in media has never really been the Japanese's forte. Gay characters are either portrayed as shunned, disgusting members of society, or the complete butt of all jokes. Persona 4, one of the only Persona games I actually like, has this problem really fucking badly.
This is as good a time as any, so I want you to be honest with us.
Okay.
Are you really, you know...
Am I really what?
What I mean is, are we gonna be safe alone with you?
What? What the hell's that supposed to mean? I already told you guys I'm not like that.
Well, then why are you all hot and bothered about it? That's just more suspicious.
Hell no! We settled this already, damn it. Right now I'm, well, how do I put it?
Oh God, don't trail off like that, you're freaking me out!
I'm trying to tell you that I have no problem being around girls now.
Can you prove it?
Prove it?
'Cause if you can't, we're gonna be stuck here all night, half scared to death.
To hell with this. If that's what you really think of me, then I'm gonna go hit the girls' tent right now!
I absolutely despise this shit. So seeing how the team actively changed this section of the game for the better really makes me happy. They could have gone down a route where they kept the Honeybee Inn as a shady brothel, or changed it to be overtly heterosexual and scummy. This is one of the only positive changes in the game that I actually really agree with. But I do not enjoy the rhythm section. Rather, I appreciate this part of the game instead of actually enjoying it. Now we're finally able to gain access to Don Corneo's mansion. Along the way, you can chat up a couple of minor characters for some genuinely entertaining reactions.
Forgive me, miss, but the way you're staring at me is rather... Oh goodness! I'm experiencing an emotional response.
About her.
Once inside the mansion, we're reunited with Tifa, and the three of them come up with a plan. No matter who's chosen by Corneo, they all agree to interrogate him for information. Tifa's whole reason for getting close to Corneo in the first place is because some of his goons showed up in Sector 7, looking for a man with a gun for a hand. I think they're looking for this guy. Anyways, we finally meet Don Cornetto here, and...
Nice. Very nice. Whichever one shall I pick?
You two can have the others.
Whilst Cloud's busy having hot, sexy, gay, wet, hot, mouth-watering, sexy, gay, erotic, sexy, hot, homo sex with Cornholio, our perspective is switched over to Aerith and Tifa.
We got guests, and y'all got first crack at entertaining them.
Man, if Square Enix had gone just one step further with their Berserk inspiration, this could be a really fucked up scene. They get their gear from Leslie and then fight their way through the mansion. When they finally reach Corneo, he's already finished dumping at least 3 loads into Cloud's bussy. I need psychological help. The 3 interrogate Corneo and learn that Heidegger paid him to find Barrett in an attempt to root out Avalanche. They're also currently planning on collapsing an entire plate on top of Sector 7 in order to completely eradicate Avalanche and their home turf. Unsure of whether he's lying or not, they decide to rush back home, just in case. As they're about to leave, however, Corneo opens a comically large trapdoor and flushes them out to the sewers like Dr. Evil.
Die!
Except he's a fat rapist. Cloud awakens in the sewers aside an unconscious Aerith and Tifa. The game gives you the option of choosing who to wake up first, like some sort of test to determine which girl you like more. Wow, very cringe. Also, I'm not leaving in who I chose. Fuck you. Before I can even think to have a meltdown over the fact that we're in the fucking sewers, we're attacked by a surprise boss, an Absu Corneo was keeping as a pet. Wait, this is just the Rancor scene from Return of the Jedi. The fight is absolutely great. It has several physical attacks wherein it will charge across the arena or leap down from the walls and tackle the player. The boss also possesses aquatic spells. It can flood the arena with doo-doo feces and create tornadoes of deadly water. The Abzu is extremely weak to fire, and when set alight it will leap into the water surrounding the arena. Fire material also does insane damage to its horns, which will cause it to stagger. The only downside to this boss is that it appears later in the game and is essentially the exact same fight. Plus it's only like 4 chapters later that it reappears. If it weren't for the lazy reuse of the Abzu, I'd say it's one of the best bosses in the entire game. After that scuffle, the three must traverse the maze-like sewers, solving puzzles and killing rats along the way. They require a key to leave the first section of the sewers. You can flip switches on the wall that lower the water, revealing items lining the bottom. These puzzles are expanded upon in the next section, where the player must lower gate doors to create new pathways. Throughout this part of the game, Tifa is constantly talking about how worried she is about getting back, and how she thinks Corneo might be telling the truth, and that they need to stop Shinra because thousands of people will die.
I don't believe that crazy story of his, do you? Shinra wouldn't sacrifice a whole sector just to take out Avalanche, would they? Destroying part of the city, killing all those people just to get at us?
I don't know. Is Corneo the kind of guy who'd make up shit just to screw with you?
I wouldn't put it past him.
But if he was telling the truth, and there's still a chance he was, isn't there? Then we should go. And if it turns out he was lying, then so what, right?
Tifa!
Hey, Cloud. Assuming Corneo was telling us the truth, what do you think Shinra's really up to? I mean, they've gotta have an endgame. But I can't imagine what it is. Destroying a whole chunk of the city just to get back at us doesn't make any kind of sense.
Yeah, I can't imagine any way they could profit from it. It's gonna cost them a fortune to rebuild.
Corneo's lying. He's gotta be. Guys like him do it all the time out of habit. Damn it. I can't stop thinking about what Corneo said.
I know. Me too.
It's gotta be a trick. There's no way they'd go that far. But what if Corneo really was telling the truth? We have to get there in time to stop it. We have to.
Right.
Focus.
Still thinking about the plate?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't fucking care! Every 2 or 3 minutes, there was some sort of mention of Shinra collapsing the goddamn plate on Sector 7, which makes the next part of the game even more frustrating in hindsight. But I think I'll leave that for the next video. Eventually, they reach the end of the sewers. Aerith and Tifa have to do a short minigame to clear the final amount of water. This minigame was somehow confusing to me the first time I played, and apparently a lot of other people were confused by it too, judging by all the Reddit and GameFAQs posts. I feel stupid for thinking this was challenging now. There is a very tight margin of error though, which can really set you back if you mess up enough. Otherwise, this is pretty simple. The gang's attacked by the deep ones before they finally escape back to the surface. And I think that's where I'll leave it. We're only about halfway through the game, but there's a lot of reuse of locations past chapter 13, so that's less shit to talk about at least. I'm not looking forward to starting the script for the next video, considering where I'll be picking back up from. Chapter 11 is my least favourite in the entire game. I haven't looked into it, but I have a feeling a lot of other people dislike this area too. So for now, that's it. Thanks for watching this far. I know this video is long and probably not that interesting based on the subject matter. I might take a break to produce some videos on similar shit like Advent Children or Spirits Within before I continue with the third part. I'd also like to thank Kyan for the whole Yugoslavia bit at the beginning. That was his idea. And I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Don't mean to suck my own dick for a bit, but you know. Anyways, for now, I think it's time I get some sleep. I thought I'd just tack this on to the end of the video because whatever, I just want to talk about it. I just saw the trailer for the new Final Fantasy VII Remake game coming out. What the fuck is it called? Rebirth. Yeah, I just watched it. Yeah, I'm hyped. It looks good. Sorry for the fucking shitty mic quality. I'm just recording this really quickly. Right at the end of editing the video. It's like 90% done. It's probably gonna go up right after I record this, so I just wanted to get it out there. Yeah, it looks really fucking good. But I'm not gonna get my hopes up too high or anything, because I've been fucking burned before, and but Square Enix have been on a roll lately. You know, Final Fantasy 16 was really fucking good, so yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully it's good. Bye.
Welcome to the New World Order.
You didn't have to cut me off. Like that. We were nothing.